Does custom water cooling your PC actually make sense in 2025? Apparently the internet has decided they're obsolete, but let's tell you why they're wrong and the pros and cons of using air cooling, water cooling, and AIOs.
The first thing people talk about is just use an AIO. They're exactly the same and you won't see any notable difference. Well, let's go over the differences between my cooling system and an AIO like this, and we can even consider it a 420 or a 360. Well, first off, you see how big this radiator is overall as far as for the thickness. That is one thing. The pump is about this big. My pump is about this big. You're going to have more coolant flowing faster. That is one thing. Next, we have an AIO with very thin tubes. Only so much water flow can go through this, and you include that small pump. You also have to look at how much liquid is in this. It's actually not that much. It's like a very, very small cup amount versus how much is mine. I have 2 liters in my system. Now, one of the bigger thing is what's called heat soak. Over the time, if you're running your load like 100% over a given time, you're going to have equilibrium, or the most that this thing can cool off. And with less fluid, that's going to hit that number a lot faster. Now let's talk about air coolers and why they're great, but they also have their drawbacks. They're great because there's no maintenance outside of blowing it out every once in a while. You don't have to worry about leaks. Well, there is damage that can happen, especially with bigger shower coolers. You're going to have a lot of strain on that motherboard, and especially if you're doing any shipping, these are a lot more dangerous when shipping because you're going to cause stress, and these things can not only pop off but damage the motherboard. I've seen it many a times, and that's why a lot of manufacturers go to AIOs, because they're a lot safer when it comes to shipping. Now, a lot of AIOs have better cooling, especially when it comes to the smaller ones like this. Now, Noctua NHD15 or the Dark Rock, those styles can actually compete with a lot of AIOs, but you still have that kind of big honking looking dude on your motherboard, and it's still going to have some stress on there, though you can pick what you choose because obviously they're both going to do the thing. But a lot of people talk about gaming, but computers aren't only used for gaming, they're used for quite a few things. Now, when it comes to rendering 8K RAW or some other work like CAD designs and rendering those things out, this thing pumps an insane amount of wattage through that CPU and the GPU. So we have a 1400K and we have a 4090. Both of these have OCs that you couldn't even get on an air cooler. Trust me, I've tried to get an OC that was stable on here and on the 4900K, and the actual air coolers just could not do it. Now with this system, it's really great because of the fact that everything's interchangeable. If your AIO goes bad, if you have a bad pump, if you have a cut in your tubes and you're leaking, all of mine are replaceable. This is going to outlast. I can just swap out the pump right here. I can interchange that. If I have an issue with one of the tubes, I can replace that. I can replace something with the CPU water block. Everything I can use for an extended period of time because it's repairable. I can fix these things. Now, I just got done doing a long form render, which is why my fans are pretty loud right now. But this system can be extremely quiet. Like, you will not hear my system on any given day, even when I'm gaming, because of how quiet it can be. That's one of the greatest things about one of these systems.
Now let's go over the main differences. A lot of AIOs only have about this much coolant inside when I have about 2 bottles. Plus you can repair or replace a lot of these parts, and this system only cost $400, which isn't far off from a lot of AIOs today. Plus I can cool the GPU, not just the CPU. I can swap out the coolants. I can do so many more things, and it's only